Hello and welcome to Wake Up Our Faith. This is the weekly broadcast from YouPrint, Faith and Personal Development. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams.
That's it, man.
That's it, bro. It's good to be with you guys. This is a conversation about the upside of upside down living is the way we talk about it. Hope you guys are doing fabulous on this wonderful Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in for wherever you are, whether you're listening to this live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or catching us on the podcasted at iTunes and Spotify. Love you guys to jump on, comment, let us know where you're listening from, all that good stuff. We would greatly appreciate it and look forward to walking with you. Our corporate partners make this show possible. One of those being Dr. Greg Veman at Seacoast Skin Surgery. Dr. Veman also has a ministry called Everlasting Strength. You can find them on the web, everlastingstrength.org. Also, Chris Hutchins and his team at Guaranteed Rate Mortgage. If you're in the mode of buying a home or refinancing your home, fantastic team there. Chris Hutchins with Guaranteed Rate, 910-344-0304. Okay, man, this is the first show of 2020.
Yeah.
With the way dates have fallen and everything, so it's good to be back in the saddle.
Yeah, 2020. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
It really is.
There's something happened from 19 to 20 that's makes you feel, I don't know. It's like we breathe the same air of the people from 2020, from 1920.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's hard to imagine.
The roaring 20s, yeah,
So,
man.
yeah.
It's cool because
New season now.
Yeah, well, new
decade,
new
right?
decade, new season, and that's a lot. There's a lot of that language going on, kind of in prophetic circles. Folks talking about 2020 and clarity and vision and all that stuff, and we're certainly seeing a ton of growth in people and opportunities, and some really cool stuff's happening.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a good time, and I just want folks to tune in just to be encouraged, because God is he's always been on the move, but I feel like that there's a fresh wind in the sail.
Yeah, man.
Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, it's good. Put on some Lenny Kravitz, or put on your good old gospel music, whatever you want. Man.
Whatever you
Enjoy.
want. Yeah.
Time to go.
And dive in. Well, man, we've got some good stuff to dive into today. This has been coming up kind of on regular occurrence in some of the mentoring sessions, some of the discipleship that you've been doing, and the concept is live to give. And you and I talked about that when we had kind of our initial brainstorming for the new year. You said God had kind of laid this on your heart, so let's just start to unpack that, man, and dive into it for those listening and watching.
Sure. Well, we talk about sonship a lot. It's let's back up just a little bit. Our job here on earth, first and foremost, is to be like Jesus. That's very simple thought. But most people don't really understand what that means, and they think of it in terms of the Beatitudes or the similitudes or good behavior. Or they think of it in general terms like just love. Mm. And that's true and good, but there's something that's missing that comes with discipleship and walking together with people, and that is to understand that being like Jesus means that you need to understand you are a son or daughter. And that is, you're not defined by what you do, what you have, or any of those things. You are defined simply by who God made you, and then to uncover it and why is the greatest form of obedience. Now, you don't have to force the outcome anymore. You're already connected to it. Yeah. It's done. Your job is to uncover it, live it out. So in that, we see ourselves as vessels, and as a vessel, to get away from the sort of churchy language that people just, after a while, they just kind of glaze over. To get more to the practical day-to-day, we have to understand that we are here simply to give. Mm. And so the way God showed it to me, and we have this thing I've been working on for a while, but it's a parabolic family circle, if you will, but the thing God keeps saying is live to give, live to give. And when he says that to me, I know he's always talking about the people who are becoming leaders, who are jumping in with us. And so it's personal, but at the same time, it's sort of a theme and also for a direction for us in another course, if you will. So anyway, all that said is live to give, and you're going to be talking about what generosity tomorrow. So it all ties together.
Yeah.
But,
So going back to this idea of the primary purpose for us on earth is to be like Jesus, right? And understand we are sons.
Yes.
I think that the language that a lot of people are starting to tap into, and we're always about fresh language. Mm-hmm. We're always about bringing a new perspective,
right.
a fresh word,
right.
so it doesn't fall into the rote. Oh well
that's right.
But the word that people have been kind of talking about is identity. And so identity is kind of that theme, but understanding kind of who you are in Christ and then who you are. And then the purpose of your identity, as you're saying, is to give.
Yeah.
That's why you are who you are, is to give it to the world.
It's like anointing, and then gifts show up to create, to build out your anointing. Your anointing is your blueprint, your why. The gifts show up, the hammer and the saw, and then you just work from that place because you can't not, because you're excited. If someone gave you a house plan and it's your dream house, yes, you're gonna the tools are gonna come together. You're gonna pour into it from who you are, decorate it the way you want, etc. But you're gonna go there every day and dig in because you love it.
Yeah.
So it's not work, even though it is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that anointing to gifts to experience or effort process. It has to go in that order. So when you go back and reiterate all this, you come back to kind of everybody's house looks different.
Yes.
But they're still called a house. So identity's like that.
Right.
So identity, everybody needs to understand that God made them, time, geography, circumstances, people, location, everything. It was intentional. So, but the word gets thrown around, identity is thrown around, like the word house.
Yeah.
But you go in a different house and there's different aromas and senses.
It's very specific and unique.
Yeah, so it's not good enough to just say identity. We have to really uncover the Rembrandt that each person is.
I love that.
And help them gently and gradually, daily, weekly, monthly, put brush strokes on it.
Yeah.
Without getting overwhelmed.
Sure. Now when we use the word give, like live to give, I think people automatically go to this mindset of financial giving. But that's really not what we're talking about. That would be a tiny sliver of a pie. You're talking about a much broader construct of giving. And so let's start unpacking what that actually means and looks like for folks.
Well, I think it's great to walk, to get a picture of live to give. It's you could easily call it a protein bar, or you could use that for a lot, and probably people have. I don't know why, but that's just what God's been saying, and I think we're getting to the point to working through nuances and very individual things, but also to remember that you're a part of something. And if there's a simple way to look at this, we need to see this thing stratified. We need to see it on every level. And a really good way to look at it is, why are you here? You're here to give. So give what? Mm-hmm. And you're right. People think giving, it's you get the eye roll or the internal eye roll in your heart. Oh no, here they come.
Yes.
And it's not that. It's the type of, we'll talk about different types of giving, but this is about pouring out who you are, letting God work through you spiritually, and bringing the spiritual to the physical and through you as a vessel. So you're giving from who you are,
right? Which
can be a lot of different things, but the common denominator is it's you.
Yeah, that's
what the world needs. And we have to focus on that, and it takes away all the competition and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, so you're kind of setting out a trajectory and a vision organizationally for us, YouPrint. Yeah. The name YouPrint is the idea that God leaves His fingerprints on the world through yours.
Right.
It's just as unique as your thumbprint.
Yeah.
It's a time and place and geographic location and all of that stuff. That's your YouPrint.
Right.
That is kind of the newer nuanced version of identity.
Right.
What is your YouPrint, right?
Right.
But for what purpose? And that is giving. So, meaning organizationally, we as an organization are about live to give.
Yes.
But we empower people, the individuals we work with, to live to give.
Yes.
And then the organizations we work with through Faith in Business and other mechanisms
Right.
is to pour out their excellence and genius into the world, for the purpose of honoring God.
Right.
So you're saying this is an entire kind of like a trajectory for, what it is that we believe God's called us to do in the earth.
Yeah, and it's a simple nugget just to walk away with. And think of it this way. And again, we're taking that sort of second, third rung. We're not way up in the sky, and we're not right down with the ants here. We're taking a middle ground here just to keep it practical. And again, we're just painting a picture. This is, maybe the some of the background structure. But live to give. If you think about when when this temporary existence is done, this moment that we're here, do you know anyone who wants to be known as someone who took from the world?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you want to be known as someone who gave
Yes.
to the world? And I've never heard anyone ever say, I want to be known as someone who just consumed, who took from the world, who took something from the world.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think, at least the people I've been in front of, they all want to be someone who gave something to the world.
Yeah.
Well, we get away from the culture that teaches us we are God and we are all these things. And now what we teach is we are His extension. We are His vessel. And it's His genius through us. He made us. But we get on, we get in sync. It's just like tuning a guitar string. When that thing's in tune, you can hear it. It vibrates perfectly. So giving is tuning. It's living to give. It doesn't mean you don't need to receive. We need to joyfully receive.
Sure.
Somebody gave me Will. He gave me a lumbar support the other day for my back, and he's a client, a friend, a brother, and he just did it. There was no reason, but he just felt like he knew I needed it. He did it, and so we need to be able to receive without saying, I don't take handouts or anything.
Yeah.
Crap. But we're not here for that. That's meant to help us give.
Mm-hmm.
So I sit in a chair all day with this lumbar support, and I can give more of me, which is more of God through me.
Yeah. And I love what you just said there. The purpose of receiving is so you can actually give more.
Exactly.
Like it's like I love this imagery, and I remember this from like in the Jewish tradition. They'll set a wine chalice inside of a bigger bowl, and they'll just pour into the wine cup and let the wine overflow.
That's right.
It receives so it can pour back out.
Yeah.
And so it's not to be. And that's one of the things, Kev, that with religion creates consumers.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But Jesus never wanted to create consumers. He wanted to create givers.
That's right.
He wanted to create people who were an outpouring or an expression. And that's that whole construct of Paul talking about equipping the saints for the purpose of giving. It is about that outward expression and not some type of inward, self-focused, behavior.
Yeah, that's right. So the concept of live to give is it draws it all together. Again, it's just kind of a middle ground view of this. It helps us realize purpose at a semi-corporate level. It's personal, but it's also corporate, and it applies to everybody.
Yeah.
There's no need or reason for us to be here. It's just like saying if there's no hell, then there's no need for Jesus. That's a true statement. So guess what? There is a hell, and there is a Jesus, and He did it. So He paid for us to stay away from that place. But why are we here? What's the point? Let's just go home. Well, we get into that from soup to nuts, but one good way to walk away every day and just think about it. Why am I here? I'm here to give. I'm here to give. I'm here to give. What now is that?
Yes.
Well, the greatest thing you can give away is who you are, because God made you and He paid for you. And it's not arrogant, it's obedience.
Yes.
So let's talk about, in our next segment, what giving ourselves away can look like.
Yeah. It's a great first segment as we jump in here, guys, about the purpose of generosity in our life, to be givers. And we're going to take a little quick break and jump back in here. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to and watching Wake Up Our Faith. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams, back for more right after this. Hey everybody, welcome back to Wake Up Our Faith, the show where passion, purpose, and dreaming big challenge common sense. We like to think of it as a conversation to shed light on the upside of upside down living. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams, we are with you almost every week, and we have the archived content on YouTube as well as our podcasts on iTunes or Spotify. Would love for you guys to go jump back in there. Some great content. We love walking with you, love to hear kind of what's going on in your life. Today we're talking about a really powerful concept of generosity, but kind of in a fresh way of looking at giving, so that it's not about some rote habit or behavior about your finances. It's actually about being and living out who you are here on the earth. Really cool. So we're going to dive into that in just one second. But we want to thank our corporate partners for making this show possible. One of those being Freeman Landscape, the largest privately owned landscaping and irrigation firm in eastern North Carolina, both residential and commercial landscaping and irrigation. Give them a call, 910-796-1166. Also, our friends at Physical Therapy Services of Wilmington. You can find them on the web, ptservicesofwilmington.com. Serving southeastern North Carolina since 1983. Family owned and operated as well. Give them a call, 910-763-8286. And also the Honeycutt Group. This is an insurance brokerage company based right here out of Wilmington. Chad and his team can help you with any kind of insurance needs you have. 910-338-1773. So Kev, open up this concept of generosity. Before the break you said, let's talk about some different types of generosity and actually giving of yourself.
Well, I'm actually using the word giving here. I think generosity is part of that, but right. I think the giving is a foundational, and then there's types of giving, and there's generosity that is it's very loving and empathetic, and there's no expectation on it. So I want to keep that, but I also want to come back to just a baseline of just giving.
Yes.
Because when you start getting other words on top of that, you start to gravitate. What we mean and what people may misinterpret or misunderstand is to box that into something that it isn't. And again, we're not talking about resources, but we could be.
Sure.
So just to put that caveat into it, but absolutely, we need to have a generous heart about giving, and we can talk about what that looks like. But living to give, what do we give when we give ourselves? What is that? How do we define that? What does that mean? What's your immediate thought on that?
Well, when you give of yourself, you're basically just giving who God has made you to be. You're just being who you are in the earth. You're just pouring out, what it is, your DNA, if you will, your heavenly DNA into the world.
Yeah. So there's giving that is it's not. A lot of times when we think about giving, we think of, wow, it's, you get Christmas Day and kids.
Yep.
You got people that you've shopped for. That's kind of very much generous type giving. But then you have something that I would consider even a deeper level of giving, and it's something you almost can't not do. And it is you must give who you are away. You must make that the mode of your life. And you're built for that. So it's like when you do something for someone that they're unwilling to do for you, or do something that's difficult, but you are fantastic at it. And it doesn't have to be some big overwhelming thing. So think of it this way. That type of giving is there's no loss in transfer. In other words, it's not necessarily even sacrificial, though it may appear sacrificial. So, who's a great jazz? Think about Miles Davis. Miles Davis was probably the best horn player in a jazz perspective at least in our generation. So that guy did not lose anything when he played the horn. He did it for himself, but he also did it for others. So if he's standing on stage and he's playing, he's not losing anything. He's giving this away, and it just continues to pass through him.
So what you're really tapping into here is this is not an exchange of goods. It's not a loss of an item. It's like I gave you a hat. I don't have a hat anymore.
Right.
It's like when you give of yourself, you have an endless supply of yourself because that's who God made you to be.
Yes.
So you just do that thing, and you're never without.
Right. It's like, if I sit in front of someone who says, you have lots of wisdom, and I pour that wisdom out to people, well, I don't lose wisdom. Mm-hmm. In fact, I gain it even.
Sure.
So we're not talking about the church mantra and sowing seeds and good scriptural language even, which is good.
Yeah.
We're talking about something deeper, and that's why we come back to the heart of it with a generous heart.
Right.
But the simple definition of giving, like Jesus walked around in that mode, he gave who he was away. He carried out his mission, pleased his Father, and God, through the desires of his heart, poured out into other people. And you notice that he didn't say the same thing to everybody. He said exactly what they needed and did what they needed because he was a vessel for God as when he was a man.
So the inherent problem I think you're tapping into here that you see people struggling with is fear of giving because they think they're going to lose something. Like if they give something, they're hesitant to give because they're afraid they're going to lose. So I'm going back down to bring it into you're walking with people who are struggling in their day-to-day lives because they feel like they're being taken advantage of. They feel like they're losing something. It's not being reciprocated.
Right.
And you're saying, no, when you are who you are, there is no capacity for loss.
That's right.
In fact, that is the greatest way to be Jesus. It's just by continuing to give of yourself in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's what begins to bring freedom and deliverance and victory and all these things.
Yes. And so you've got different levels of trying to coax people into giving that really colossally fail at some point on one end or the other. And here's an example. Well, if you give, you're going to be blessed.
Yeah.
We hear that all the time. We hear it in a little bit more intellectual, a little cooler, a little smoother delivery. But that's the idea is, I promise, even your moment of loss is going to come back to you. It's still about you getting.
Yes.
And giving, true giving, is never about getting.
Yes.
God is your provider.
Mm-hmm.
He put the breath in your lungs, and he will feed you. It would be evil if he wouldn't do both, because he gave you a stomach and lungs. Think about that. This whole thing's done.
Yeah.
It's like saying you have a patent or a blueprint on this table, and most people don't understand that because they won't go there because they can't see it with their eyes, so they hold on to the table. This is my table. All right, I'm going to give part of it away, or I'm going to give my table away. Look at me. Or even in the dark at night, man, I can't believe I did that. I did it. Look at me. I won't tell anybody. But in their heart, they're still struggling with it.
Yeah.
So the remedy to this is to understand that your true value is to be poured out. And to do that with a sense of mission, you've got to uncover who you are.
Yeah.
And God's not hiding it from you, but he draws you in
Yeah.
to get you to participate. It's valuable. Our value, our satisfaction is to live to give, to be poured out. And there's all kind of ways to do that. But I think fundamentally for this segment, what we're talking about is, this is different than just making a nice donation or giving somebody something that they need, or even doing something kind for someone who won't do it for you.
Yeah, so I remember on Monday night, I meet with a group of men, and there's a younger guy there, and he's probably, mid-20s, and he's just starting out in his career. Mm-hmm. And, he said the other day, he said, I'm really struggling with the fact that I don't give enough, Mm-hmm. And he was saying, man, I really am wrestling with this because, quite frankly, he said, I feel like I'm selfish. And I was trying to make the point to him, and it's that concept that we've talked about on the show, as I said, giving is never about your effort. It's never about how much you've given or how I'm just going to give.
That's right.
It's never about that thing. I said, because that would then make you well, I got more. I could give more. I could give more. You're constantly living from a striving standpoint.
You become your own God.
Yeah, and
ultimately.
it really is putting more, like you said, it's putting more value on you than on God.
Right.
And giving is never about that effort place
right.
or shame or guilt.
Right.
I haven't given enough.
Right.
It's about freedom to
that's
go.
the enemy.
Yes, freedom to go. Man, I've been given all of this here.
That's right. And see, this kind of thinking changes everything when we think about how even in just modern church culture, the narrative can easily get bent toward the highest dollar. And I'm not saying everybody does that. I'm saying the temptation is always there because, people come in, they want to hear a certain thing or do a certain thing. They want things to go their way, and they make big donations. So, again, I'm not poo-pooing the church, that version of the church, but the church, which is us. We need to think differently. We need to be poured out again. If you struggle with this, you always go back to what you know and your knower, and that is, I'm here to give.
Yes.
That's the value I have. And it's not about what I got to get before I can do it. It's about starting right where you are, whether you encouraging somebody, you can always get a cup of coffee. You start right there and move forward, and God will grow that. It's crazy. So, but yeah, you're here to do that.
Yeah.
You're here to do that. And what happens is God will unfold through you, through the shape of you, to the benefit of others and to His glory, and you'll have satisfaction. And guess what? You'll have more than anything is peace.
Yes.
No one can compete with that or remove it because now you're in sync.
Yeah.
Now you're acting like a son or daughter.
Well, that's true freedom.
It is
true
freedom.
It's true freedom.
Free indeed part.
Yeah, and it's because it's not attached to people's opinions or what you're expecting to get back or any of that kind of stuff.
That's right.
It's just free.
That's right. So, we can apply that, plug that into the business environment.
Leaving the wrapping up this segment here, Kev, talking to someone who, putting a bow on this, if you will, what would you say is the key focus for them to take away from this first segment about giving?
Well, what I was going to say was we can talk about more in the business segment, but we've got a couple of nuggets here to maybe help people understand that. And part of our Portable Faith community, we send out these texts, and we have quite a few of them on this subject. But here's one: you cannot attach what you give to what you give back and still call it generosity. So that gets into why you're giving, which is a big subject, and it's equally important. It's just we wanted to go a little deeper with it. But so there's no attachment. So you want to remember that it's not attached to anything. There's no pitter pat in your heart about it. You're doing it because God's doing it through you,
right?
And it satisfies you. That's why Jesus said it's better to give than receive. Additionally, another way to sort of practice this, even emotionally and then physically, is to the text just says, if you want to truly imitate God, practice giving away things that are most important to you and making doubly sure the only name attached is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the type of giving where you don't have to broadcast it. You just do it because it pleases God and that pleases you, and then you see them and that just warms your heart.
Yeah.
Now, there are times where you're giving and the person you're giving it directly to them, whatever you are, that is, and so, you may not be able to do it in secret. But I think that's another way to kind of keep pushing back to the bottom line here is it's a one-way highway from heaven through you into the earth.
And the challenge becomes, like you said there, is when you start to attach things to it.
Yeah.
And that's coming from fear. That's coming from worldly dynamics and expectations and all this kind of stuff, and even our own nobility of, how good I am because I gave this. And the danger in this, and I can speak from experience, and I know you can, it's just that's very subtle. Those things are so very subtle.
Right. It's just screw tape letters.
Yeah, you don't even realize them.
It's a soul area.
Yeah.
The enemy's crafty in that area is for veteran Christians.
Yeah.
Because we get the hard stuff. That's the sneaky Jesus sneaks in the side door of our souls like it's a casino, and he turns over the game tables, and he needs to. But this is kind of doing that gently. But think about it this way: when you think about at the end of your days, do you want to be someone who is only even known to God as someone who took from the world, or consumed, or do you want to be someone who is known to Him as someone who gave to the world?
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody who wants to former.
Yeah.
So another way to look at that is, I'll just wrap it up with this, but I just jotted these down earlier from our text database. But which type of heart does God prefer? The one who has much but gives a little, and we see that all over the place. It makes you feel good. You got plenty, you give a little. The one who has much and gives a little, or the one who has little but gives all he has.
Yes.
Which heart does God prefer? And the greater question is, which heart do you prefer?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be around? Well, I want to be around the widow's mite kind of folks.
Yes.
And I want to be that kind of person.
Right.
So there's no attachment to stuff. We're meant to give.
Yeah.
Not hold on.
Yeah.
But it comes from who you are. Even
Right.
if it's a cup of coffee.
That's a great picture to kind of end out this first segment. Guys, Matt and Kevin, we're going to take a short break, come back for Faith in Business right after this. Hello and welcome back to Wake Up Our Faith in Business. This is the second segment of our show where we talk about how to live your faith, where you spend the majority of your time. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams were the co-founders of YouPrint, faith and personal development organization right here in Wilmington. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. Someone had mentioned the volume. We were a little bit of a trouble with the volume, so do comment if there's a problem there. It looks like it's working on our end fine. Anywho, hope you guys are doing great. Want to recognize our our corporate partners for making this show possible. One of those being Melissa Thomas, also known as Melissa the Coach. You can find her online, melissathecoach.com. Email her, melissathecoach@gmail.com. She is a speaker and personal finance coach who really helps people kind of simplify their life so that they can step into and pursue that thing that God's put on their heart. Also, too, the Rising Tide team. This is a full-service real estate team right here in Wilmington, focusing on southeastern North Carolina, representing both buyers and sellers. Make sure you reach out to the Rising Tide team if you have any real estate needs in the area, 910-620-7177. So, Kev, the first segment we dove into this concept of live to give, right, which is kind of an unofficial mantra or trajectory that we are embodying as an organization,
right,
in both individual relationships and corporate for this year.
Yeah.
Well, and onward.
So if you take the idea that you're here to give, again, we're kind of looking at this from the middle of the page, just to give a different perspective on it. It's not about sowing. It's not about sacrifice. It's about the joy that comes in being poured out to the benefit of others and the glory of God. And there's nothing like it. This is exactly what Jesus was talking about when he said it's better to give than receive. We need to receive. We need to eat. We need our businesses to do well. We need all that. But we don't have to manufacture that or stress or strive over it. We do have to be excellent. We do have to live out the kind of thought process that comes from that. But at the same time, God does that. If we give from who we are, God does the rest. And it's fun. So that way, no one can ever take away what it is that you're giving, because there's always something that you can do. And that it could just be a kind word all the way up to, some flowers. I say that knowing Julie. By the way, Beach Blooms in Carolina Beach, they need a good word. Incredible friends and folks. Some of the most creative people I've ever seen, and they can make or do anything.
Yeah.
No, that's a big old statement, and I don't want to get off track here, but if you need flowers, or some cool candy, they've got it. I'll move on. We'll give them more plugs later, but I was in there the other day, and some flowers were given to me to take home to my wife, and I didn't ask for them, and God just did that.
Yeah.
But they got to be givers.
Yeah.
And it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
So that's a small thing potentially, or a big thing.
Right.
But the important thing is it's from God through somebody's heart, a willing heart. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
You can't lose in that scenario.
What I'm thinking of here is, and you were in this world, this online author writing, creative world, and you were in the middle of that universe with Franklin, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And I just always saw people who made comments about, don't do stuff for free, don't work for free. If you're a creative, don't work for free.
Sure.
And I understand the baby in that, because like you said, we need to be paid. Mm-hmm. But there is this, I think that many people are missing out on their genius because they are afraid to do it without the expectation of compensation.
Yeah, that's right. Well, when you walk by sight, which means your five senses, you cannot intellectually digest this. This is spiritual food. It is the superior technology. So we have to digest it spiritually. This is what God's telling us over and over. Walk by that and not by that.
Yeah.
He didn't say throw that away. So, yes, there are times where there are people who would take advantage of us. There are people who would abuse us even. And we have to know where to draw the line on that.
Right.
We're not supposed to be doormats.
Yes.
We've got work to do. But we also don't need to take up offenses at every little thing where someone, maybe stepped on our toes. There's too much to do to be done through us than to get caught up in that. Mm-hmm. So, but there are times where you begin to cast your pearls to swine.
We talked about that.
Scripture says. So, understanding that, and that's for another show. But yes, you never, ever, ever do something with focus on this is going to pay me. You do it because someone needs that in that moment, and you do it with your heart, and it will always find its way to blessing them, to changing the world. God will continue to pour into that type of heart, and you want Him pouring in instead of you manufacturing it.
Yeah.
You can go far in your own strength, but then you got to hold it and maintain it.
Yeah.
We can't compare that to what He will do through us, for us. So, and I'm saying that from experience, not just, some kind of platitude.
I have this thought that I'm wrestling right now, where I hear the voice of a naysayer, if you will, saying,
bring them on.
I don't have time. I hear what you're saying, but I don't have time. And what I hear equally the Holy Spirit saying is God redeems time.
Absolutely.
And so there's a really powerful supernatural principle here that if you are willing to let go of your time, right, and give, if that's the holdback, God can actually redeem that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in a business environment, we want to be adhere to the structure and the authority and all that. We sign contracts. We have a job to do sometimes when we're working for others, or even in our own. We have clients. So we're not saying just be reckless. You don't want to become the kid on the poster so that he can become you. That doesn't solve any problem. So you want to be a vessel that is a mechanism, a strong, powerful force, but it's God that's doing it. And so in that, you don't have to have fear anymore. You don't have to compete. Like we talked about this, but you're throwing it out there again, and so the idea is that if you have to make that decision that I'm going to do this for that person, because in a way you're being the good news to them. You're showing them, you're leaving a good opinion of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so it's not some religious thing. It's like, whoa, this is my family. I'm here on earth. God's living in me. Let's go get it done because the days are short.
Yeah.
And so in business, you don't have to juggle it. You have to learn how to listen to him and follow it. And your business will succeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's been your hardest lesson to learn in this arena, in this conversation, like with this principle in your own life? Like, what's been the hardest thing for you to overcome with it?
Well, it took a lot of years. And you mentioned God restoring the years. And, I'm not saying I look like I'm super young, but my wife and I both, God gave us back a whole decade of health, of how we look, how we feel. We are doing something in the midst of something now, and obviously, you're right in the middle of it with us. We're not doing it; He's doing it, and no one can take it away. But the hardest lesson for me was that I don't have to do it, and God had to strip me down to every single thing I'd ever created, owned, my livelihood, my credit, everything. I worked my tail off for years, and it was gone. Okay, that's a hard thing. But it wasn't 2 days later, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm this wise guy now, and I know. So the hardest lesson was waiting for him to teach me how to rely totally on him. And so now, I understand that. But the hard part now is just to keep encouraging people to keep going. It's the pain of discipline now or the pain of regret later.
Right.
I don't know anybody that wants regret. Nobody wants the pain of discipline, but it's such a good trade.
Yeah. So
let God tutor you. Let yourself be taught. But you don't have to wait.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait. So maybe the big lesson is you can take baby steps right now, even by giving somebody a hug.
Yeah. Were there days for you during that journey where you kind of just hit the end of your rope, so to speak, and you just said, God, I'm tired of giving. I'm tired of giving. I'm tired of being the one who's always willing to do this.
Right.
Kind of, when are you going to be the God that you said you are?
Yes.
I want people to emotionally feel the pain of knowing that when you give, you know what I mean? It's not easy peasy. Like, there's going to be days when you're taken advantage of, when you're ridiculed for it, when you're mocked for it, and it doesn't give you the excuse to stop.
That's right. Your responsibility is to let God tutor you. He prepares you for the answer to your prayers. You don't have to beg Him. You have to believe Him. Think that through a second. You do not have to beg Him. You simply have to believe Him. Make that transition. That was a transition for me that took a decade, probably. So the pain is a good tutor. Most people won't move until they feel pain.
Right.
At first they want relief, but then they start to understand that actually they're after peace, which is long-term. Relief is a moment. So all that said, in the context of business, you don't have to get overwhelmed by this. You don't have to lose everything. You just have to let go and take baby steps, but you do have to begin to step into a bigger vision of, why am I here? And God will do all the heavy lifting.
There's an equal part lesson in this for me in persistence. And, because if you are giving, like if you've got the kid who's the musician, right?
Sure.
And he just knows, man, I make music. But I go and I play, and nothing's happening. The record deal's not coming.
Right.
I get a few applause, but these guys are telling me, "Hey, you're not big enough," or "Hey, you don't look right." All that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's about ready to give up. He's living out of his car. There's that mode of persistency that we have to have, which is a biblical discipline, where we persist through all the way because there is no other option. And so it's not about the strength of persistence, but it's just about...
That's right.
Yeah. And I can tell your face because you're going, no, it ain't about that.
That's right.
And I'm not saying it is about
It's
that.
about hunger
but
and passion.
But there is a biblical discipline of persistency.
Sure, you got to set your alarm to get up and get a towel and your swim trunks before you jump in the pool.
Yeah.
And then you jump in
and go.
Yeah.
Because God, and that's what you said about the belief thing.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, it's not about your effort persistency, but it's about being persistent enough to believe that He's who He says He
Well,
is.
and I know you know this, and I struggle with the idea because I know people immediately go there because they bag of chips it like they've known it all the time.
Yeah.
It's about persistence. Yeah, how many damn posters have you seen with people jumping from one mountain to the other? Persistence. It's just, that's not God.
Yes.
Being persistent in the way you're talking about is understanding that God has it and just planting seeds and resting. It's Mary, it ain't Martha.
Yeah.
It's being persistent in resting and yielding. It's letting go of the rope because God wants the glory, and He's better than we imagine.
It's funny that you say let go of the rope. I was talking with a good friend of ours who's been along on the journey for a number of years with us now, and he said the other day, he goes, you know what, man? It really is about just letting go of the rope.
Yes.
And I was like, yes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Amen. So it's good. You know what? People don't understand it. They're well intentioned. Look, I've been one, right? So I'm not looking high and mighty here. I'm saying keep going, and you're saying keep going because God will do all of what He intended to do.
Yes.
You're connected to the outcome already. You don't have to force it. You have to yield to it. Mm-hmm. It's a spiritual growth, not a physical one. Physical is temporary, and it's the inferior technology. When you invest spiritually, time with the Lord, opening up, dreaming with God, studying, digging in, He will do what He's showing you. And He'll show you more the more you step in and feel it in your heart. He'll show it to you. So when you do that, the other stuff will fall in line. It doesn't mean it's exactly how you look. That's where we get off, right?
Yeah.
In the willpower.
Yeah.
How? We're like little kids, little babies. How? Or how long? And I did that, so I know. I'm not criticizing others. I did it, man, for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Kind of waving your fist at the sky.
Yeah.
You know?
He just puts his hand on your head and says, where were you when I created the horse? He lets us wear ourselves out till we fall down, and our own will becomes our wilderness.
Yeah.
And then you're ready.
Yeah, then you're good to go.
Moses laying in the desert.
Yeah.
Like, now he's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready for delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we got one more segment here on faith in business as part of Wake Up Our Faith. Want to let you guys know to check out our website. It is refreshed with a new face on it, some new features in the new year. It's really exciting. A lot of cool stuff there for you guys to get plugged into. YouPrint.life, YouPrint.life. We've got one more segment. Don't go anywhere. Back right after this. Hello and welcome back to Wake Up Our Faith in Business. This is our weekly broadcast where we help you kind of bridge the gap between Sundays and live the life of impact you were created for, where you spend the majority of your time, and for most that is in business. We are talking about giving today and kind of this theme for the new year for us, live to give. What does that mean individually, corporately? What does it mean to God? What does it mean to us? It's been really cool to unpack a lot of this stuff. I want to recognize our corporate partners for making this show possible. One of those being Century 21 Swire and Associates. This is a full-service real estate organization here in the Carolinas, the largest Century 21 agency in the Carolinas. Jeff Whitney and the team there are fabulous. More than 30 years experience here in the marketplace. 910-256-0021. Also, our good friend Chris Riley at Fountain Financial Associates. They're in the business of giving clients and families a better life. If you need anything in regards to your long-term financial plan, make sure you reach out to Chris Riley, the team at Fountain Financial Associates, 910-256-8882. Kev, I love we got really into a cool topic last segment about we're talking about giving. and yielding and just letting yourself be. But we're saying it's not about persistence in the way that the world sees it.
Yeah.
And that's a huge lesson. And that's why we are standing in the gap that we're standing in.
Right.
Because the faith camp says trust God.
Right.
And the persistent camp says keep going. You know?
Yeah, but both of them get worn out from not really knowing what those things mean.
Yes. And so we're standing in the middle to
Yeah.
say that there is this excellent truth that combines both of those,
Sure.
that there is persistence that's needed, but it is about persistently yielding to the Lord and being patient. And right before we broke, you were talking about that willpower of when, how, how.
How
you know,
and the how long.
how long.
Logic. You know, yeah, it's Greek. It's chronologic. It's temporary. And God just isn't bound by that. And we're part of His family. So we're not bound by it either.
Yeah.
Our bodies are, but we've got a window. And so how much better is it to get on with who we are, to uncover that and pour that out? So when you put it in the business arena, which is, you know, typically between Sundays,
Yep.
Unless you're a church faculty guy or something, then, you know, you should practice getting up every day, spending time with the Lord, but not in the typical way, but in a way where you're really, really jumping in with Him spiritually and asking Him prayerfully to show you more, and you're excited about it. But even to the moment in the day that you're in, I'm going into this environment today. Instead of saying, God, would you please bless it? Say, Lord, I know it's blessed.
Yes, amen.
Because you put me in front of these people.
That's right, you did it.
And pour out the things you put in me that you expected to be expressed. And it's going to be good. And I'm excited because it satisfies my soul. It blesses others, even in small ways. And your name is always glorified in that, directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
That is a perfect day.
Yeah.
You feel good. You still get tired. You still got to eat.
Yeah.
You still get mad at people. But it's satisfaction that cannot be duplicated by competing, or I got a social media that, or yeah, all that's worldly stuff is not bad, but it ain't God.
Yeah, we've got the better thing.
We got the better
Yeah,
thing.
and I love this idea of instead of asking God to show up, believe that He is going to.
Absolutely.
And that's a difference where it goes back to that groveling thing. And it's like, oh, Lord, would you please be with me today in this meeting? And we spend so much time focusing on worrying about whether or not God's going to show up when His Word clearly says that He's in all things.
Yeah.
And instead of coming from the place of expectant joy to say, no, God, you are going to show up because your Word says it was. I know you're going to be there.
That's right.
You're always on time. You know what I mean? Now, help me press more into that.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's not looking for beggars. He's looking for believers. And He will pour Himself into a believing vessel and attach Himself to it for great things. But beggars,
Yeah.
you know, that's different than making a heartfelt petition.
Right.
He says do that, but He already knows the answer anyway. So let's get in tune with Him. Let's
Yeah.
start knowing what He's saying already and listening, following it. People say, well, He doesn't do that. Well, why are you praying about what car to buy? And you take your Bible to the car dealership, see where it says buy that one. He doesn't.
Yes.
You got to get to know Him.
Yeah.
And the more you step into that, this is the critical thing. In your business environment, the more you step into that moment with Him, it is an incredible investment. He will open that up. He'll show you more. It's like going into an imaginary house, and He'll continue to walk you further in. You don't have to manufacture it. Ask Him to show you more, and He will, and that will show up.
Yeah. I get this picture, this feeling that we are in such a season right now in the kingdom, and it's about God is actually longing for this type of believer.
Yes.
Who in fully inviting God, expecting Him to come into their business.
Yes, that's
and
right.
they're not afraid about offending people. And it's this kingdom business entrepreneurism season.
Right.
And I think God actually is longing to pour out favor upon kingdom-minded business people for the purpose of really growing what it is He's
Absolutely.
doing.
Yes.
And now's the time. And so instead of being the guy on the corner who's worried about spreadsheets and business plans and, social media strategy, we have to be the ones who are inviting the very presence and direction of God into our businesses as the leading force for us.
Yeah, think of yourself, we talk about being vessels and conduits, but think of yourself as a curator. We are curating who we are, just like it's God's art that he gave us, and we get to put this on display. We are putting him on display by being who we are to his glory, to their benefit, and it works. That's the church in action. The kingdom and the church are two different things. The kingdom is way bigger, but the church's job is to forward the kingdom and to live it out every day. So yeah. And business is a phenomenal environment to do it in because God's innovative. He's revolutionary. He's creative. He's entrepreneurial all day long. This is what forwards things. Yes, there's bad with it, but, none of that's changed, and none of that will change until he redeems the whole place.
Oh, sure.
But we are redeemed, and we got to get on with it. And it's fun.
Yeah.
And you can do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. In fact, worry is a sin.
And going back to, you don't have to wait for permission either. That goes back to a show a while ago, is that, vision comes before provision. Is that people, I think that now is a time in the kingdom and in the earth when God is looking to people who are done begging him.
That's right.
They're done waiting on permission. They're done waiting on finances. They're done waiting on logic. They're just eager and willing to step in where God leads, pour themselves out, and then watch him show up and do it.
Yeah, that's the send me, I'm ready kind of thing, Lord.
Yeah.
But it's not donkeys and begging for bread and woe is me. And no, man, you're a child of God or you're a slave, which you choose. He'll let you be either one. But, why would he paid your debt? Why would you act like a slave? Get on with, if he bought you a house, paid for it, enjoy it and open it to others.
Yes.
This is the curation thing. I'm not a beggar, I'm a believer.
Yes.
Like I am an overcomer because he did it.
Yes.
So we have to steward what he's doing. And that's the only value we truly have. But that comes with risk, apparently. But the more we step in, the less risky it feels, because where Jesus leads, there is no risk. And so his intention is our permission. We just have to learn to listen to that.
Yeah.
Built on the word, and it will all be uncovered. And there's nothing more satisfying than that. Most people, because of strongholds, will not go there.
Yeah.
But God, we are in a season. God is raising up leaders.
Yep.
And the people I'm in front of most right now, and there's a lot of them now, they're all typically in their 30s and 40s. And there's some outside of that in either direction. But these are the next. He's raising them up. And there are people that have been broken. There are people who are willing, who've been hurt, who've hurt others, but they're ready.
Yes.
And it's exciting. So I wanted to say and agree, yes, this is not just helping people learn how to be more productive Christians.
Yeah.
It is a season change.
Yes.
And it's recent.
Yes.
We're in it.
Yes.
And we're going to step in.
Yeah. You're absolutely right in the sense that, God, as one of the texts says, he looks to and fro for willing vessels that he can fill himself with. Right. And I believe that, we are in this shift where God is raising up it's this idea of the hidden people. You've got the folks that everybody knows on the street corner or on the posters, and but he's raising up a hidden people that nobody sees. Sure. These are the up and coming people. It's the modern day, disciples and fishermen and, tax collectors or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It's this new wine for this new season of his kingdom expansion.
If he's put a certain type of thing on your heart, you don't have to go out tomorrow and make it all happen.
Yeah.
You do have to step into it and say, oh, I love this. And how can I start right now? And even if it's just a prayer, but it might be a cup of coffee. It might be buying a canvas and practicing on it. It might be getting a guitar. It might be understanding a business philosophy. It could be writing. It could be anything. It's not just artistic or fine arts. It could be, just go. You want to start a landscaping business, and you don't have the money. that then start to visit that place with God. Start to let Him show you what that looks like, and then go mow somebody's yard for free.
Yeah.
And when you do that, God will pour into that. It's not that this can't fail.
Yes.
What fails is our will, and we start trying to put our own parameters on it. God's going to give you a Harley, and you're going after a rusty bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you want to be prepared? I'm not saying you, us, anybody. Collectively, don't you want to be prepared for what He's got?
Yeah.
Well, He's not going to give it to you, a 10-year-old with a driver's license. He's going to prepare you.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal. It ain't always fun, but it's so worth it. And if you can start with joy in that, then you start seeing productivity. Even look at, Mel Gibson years ago. He spent almost every penny he had to make that Passion movie. And he said he didn't care. He wanted people to see what happened. I mean, that's passion, you know. And he was ridiculed, and he went through a lot of stuff, and he had some bad behavior after. It doesn't change that. That thing is anointed, and it's just... So whatever it is, you got to learn to live from the Spirit up and out and start gently, right?
Yeah.
So...
My biggest takeaway with all of this today for somebody, I just feel like that there's somebody that's sitting out there that will cross this path, they'll hear this, they'll listen, and they're waiting on permission. They're waiting on validation. And I know, because I was that guy, I feel like, who for years I was waiting on churches, church people, or businesses to validate this thing that I knew that I had to do. And it was a really difficult season of a couple of years of like just watching the fish hooks be pulled out. Many days when I would sit on this couch up here in this room and just say like, God, what are you doing? But like, I feel like that, and again, God continues to prepare me and us and everybody, but I feel like I'm in a new season of release where those things are no longer concerns.
Sure.
And God's starting to open up doors. So I just want to speak back to that old person and say, man, don't wait on permission and don't wait on worldly validation.
That's right.
You just got to go and follow Him.
Yeah, and just plant a seed. Just get a first down. Just go gently and start with God every day, and and be joyful about it. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's okay, and get some pizza or something while
you're
at it
along the way,
and a beer.
Yeah,
but so we'll take another second here and look at this in the context of business. When you see revolutionary things, you see Amazon now. Well, when I was a kid, I was born in '66, and so. Walmart. Well, Jeff Bezos is Sam Walton of today, but we could have never comprehended that. But this guy, had a vision, and it took 12 years. I believe it's 12 years that Amazon made no money, no profit, But that what started out as an online bookstore or library basically became a highway for every purchase. So almost, we love Amazon, right? It's easy. It stuff shows up the next day. So, but in order to think forward, what we do is we go, well, it can't happen because they've got it already. Google has it already. Facebook has it already. That's not true.
No.
It's the dynamic will change again. So we've got to think beyond that, but we can't do that without God.
Amen.
God puts those ideas, and everything gets upended and improved.
Yeah.
So go there with Him, and He'll show you something new, and start working on it.
Yeah.
It could just be a simple, kind word to somebody.
Yeah. Well, guys, get started. And as always, if we can help along the way, that's what we're here for. As I've said, you can go to youprint.life, youprint.life. Get plugged into our portable faith community to get some daily inspiration, encouragement right to your phone. Reach out to us, schedule a discovery call about one-to-one mentoring, discipleship. If you're local, we've got the Faith and Business gatherings that are happening every month. Actually making an announcement tomorrow. We're going to start kind of weekly study groups as well. Man, there's just so much good stuff going on. So jump on in. We'd love to walk with you and help you in any way we can. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. So anything else, man, to close up?
Yeah, you're going to announce the cleanse tomorrow.
Yes.
As far as, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
And that's an online thing, so they don't have to be local for that.
Yeah. We're going to have online, weekly kind of gatherings and courses and stuff. Okay. So there's a lot of cool things going on.
We can talk about it next time more.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, excellent.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you guys.